If you're looking for a way to make football matches more exciting without throwing your money away this season, then you need to download Tipple. Tipple is a free-to-play prediction game built for fans of all 92 English League clubs, perfect to play with your mates while watching the football. Each week you'll be challenged to predict 6 correct results from 20 fixtures across the Premier League, Championship, League 1 and 2. And it's just the results. No scorelines, no budgets, no transfers, and no overthinking. So pick your 6, climb the table, and rule the group chat with Tipple. The link to download the app is in the description, and use this code on screen right now to join our Blues Focus League. Thank you to Tipple for sponsoring this video, and now back to the video. This video is brought to you by Tilton Road, the home of unique Birmingham City fan merchandise. From classic designs to fresh drops you won't find anywhere else, they've got every Blue Nose covered. Check out the full range now at tiltonroad.com. Welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast with me, Tommy Kelsall, and Zachary Woods. Good evening, mate. How are we?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm good. Just us two today. No Sam, no Jamie, which is a shame, but we've got a good win to reflect on, so still should be a good pod. But how are you, mate?
I'm very good, yeah. Good win yesterday. It's good to get the good vibes around the ground going and everything. And yeah, we'll be reflecting on the win against Oxford from yesterday and also a look ahead to the Port Vale game on Tuesday night. We will be doing another podcast on Wednesday night after the Port Vale game, so we'll be talking about the Leicester game a little bit later on. But yeah, let's kick it off then. So yesterday, 1-0 win with Paik Seung-Ho scoring. Let's have a talk about it. What did you think, mate?
Yeah, it was a steady game, wasn't it? It was very boring. Not a lot happened, but
Yeah,
we certainly can't complain about that when we're walking away with all 3 points. I thought defensively we were just fantastic, as we tend to be these days. I thought the 2 wing backs in Asai Samuel and Ethan Laird, particularly Laird, were brilliant yesterday. And Clara and Newman, again, Newman's come in and he's just found himself a place in that team almost seamlessly. You don't notice, or at least I haven't noticed, that we've got a new centre back a lot of the time because he's morphed into that role so well. So I thought the back line was superb. Thought going forward, we obviously had a few problems in that. Well, I say a few problems. Stansfield was probably a little quieter than normal. But that's, can't complain about that too much. And Kyogo missing a few chances. We'll get on to talk about him a bit more later, I'm sure, but not his best game. But outside of that, a great goal, lovely cut back from Laird, great finish from Paik. Thought Gray looked fantastic yesterday down that left-hand side. We mentioned it last week, but you can so see the experience and the professionalism in the way he plays. But overall, a very good game. I thought Oxford again set with that back 5 with, Elliot Moore. I think their captain was dropped and in came Long to allow that back 5. But yeah, it was a game where they very much set up for a point at best. I thought going forward, they had Will Lancashire up front, didn't they, instead of Mark Harris this week. But going forward, Sariki Dembele, of course, on the left as well. But they just never looked like scoring, not once. We mentioned before the pod, they had that Allsop save, which was rebounded. But outside of that, they literally couldn't get anything going. And why would they when they're coming to St Andrews and they're facing a team like us? It's so difficult for these types of teams that don't quite have that investment to bring in so much talent, but we do.
Yeah.
And that's how we walked away with all 3 points, a solid defensive performance. And yeah, can't grumble at all.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the League One games last season. Yesterday's game did, just, like a team that sort of come for, at best a point, really. And I think they'd have been euphoric, really, with a point coming away from that. But yeah, they offered very little. Like you said, that shot in the first half that was saved well by Allsop was pretty much all they had to offer. I think that Dembele did cause a bit of problems with, he's a tricky player and he's very much a Marmite player. I was saying this in the vlog to Jamie yesterday, actually. Like, he's either absolutely brilliant, which I think he was yesterday, or he's absolutely terrible. So he's never got that sort of middle ground, really.
Yeah.
But I think he played really well for them yesterday, caused us a few troubles, tricky player getting in between, doing a couple of dribbles and everything. But like you said, that back four, it's just an absolute brick wall. Because I remember when we first started these podcasts back in the 22-3 season under John Eustace, we talked about Austin Trusty a lot. And the fact that we always used to decide on the fact that if you don't notice a centre-back all that much, it's a good thing. And I think it's absolutely spot on with Neumann as well. He sweeps up. He's perfect. He's like a perfect partner in crime with Clara as well. And I don't think that, he's not had much really to worry about so far. The actual... the chances that he's actually had to face he's dealt with perfectly. You know, the goals that he has conceded in that back four so far, you know, the penalty against Ipswich was like just a given, really. So they didn't concede from open play, and the one against Blackburn was just a really well hit strike by Cantwell through the bodies of through the crowd of players. But everything else, them two at the back, they've just been absolutely perfect. And again, Ethan Laird at left back, you know, and he's just been perfect. Yesterday, I think the Blues Focus Twitter put out Ethan Laird was the man of the match of what they voted for. And again, I kind of have to agree, you know, because, you know, it's a position he's not particularly used to. I know he's a fullback, but still on that left-hand side, it does bring you different difficulties, and he's done it perfectly. And again, Asai Samuel on that right-hand side, Damari Gray, like you said, perfect, you know. I do worry sometimes with wingers that, you know, particularly on the left-hand side as well, he gets a little bit found out sometimes. I compared it yesterday, kind of a bit like how Marcus Rashford can be sometimes. You know, he's kind of too predictable on the left-hand side, so he cuts in and just players work him out. But I think Gray's got a little bit more that he can offer, really. You know, he's got like, he's not as predictable. Sometimes he comes back and crosses, sometimes he takes players on. But I think he's done that well yesterday. And obviously, a player that we didn't talk about, Keshi Anderson, didn't start yesterday. Williamson did. Were you surprised by him yesterday?
We spoke a little bit about this last time, didn't we? I've said how much I rate Williamson. I think he's a fantastic player. I love the way that Williamson almost drifts in quite centrally, and I think that was quite apparent yesterday. And it gives either Led or Isai Sami, whoever's behind him, the license to get as far forward as they want. He does offer something very different in that attack. He offers that physicality, and even for a big player, I think he's very good on the ball as well. Very composed. It's interesting this season because our wingers really, with Scott Wright sort of in and out of the fold through injury, is Anderson, Gray and Williamson. And I feel all three should be starting, but there's not room for all three. So it'll be interesting to see. I feel like Gray is a cemented one, and I think that's totally fair given the caliber of player he is. I do think that other spot is between Anderson and Williamson, and it does seem to be Anderson.
And maybe Kumas as well, who's just come in.
Very true, of course, because he can play wide, can't he? Also down the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how he's integrated into the fold too. But I'm glad Williamson got a start yesterday. I think he deserves a start. He deserves to show and remind Blues fans really what he's all about, because obviously the tail end of last season, or more the sort of middle part of last season, he was really struggling, wasn't he? It was that post-injury. But obviously back in the fold yesterday, and I thought he looked good. Thought he had a good game. Didn't really put a foot wrong, looked dangerous going forward, good on the ball, physical presence. I think he's everything you want from a big winger, because how many wingers do you see that are 6'2", 6'3"? Not many.
Yeah.
But just drifting into that central role is ideal for him, I think.
Yeah, he's different to other wingers as well, because he's not like Gray or Anderson, where he's got the pace and the sort of dribbling ability, even though he does have decent feet and everything. I think he offers something else, you know. He's kind of like a... How do I put this? I suppose like a bit more of an actual midfielder type of winger. He's not like an attacking winger where like Gray and Anderson are. I think he's kind of how Jota used to be for us. You know, he was like more of an essential attacking midfielder. But when you played him out on the right, he gives you something else that perhaps offers a bit more dynamism, I suppose, you know, because you've got the real flying left winger and Damari Gray. So everything down that left-hand side was, you know, everything pretty much went through that left-hand side yesterday. It's where the goal came from. But I think down the right-hand side yesterday was more cover for when we needed to get back and defend, really. But yeah, I was really impressed with him, and the goal in particular as well, I think was well taken by Paik. I'm really happy to have him on the score sheet as well. You know, we don't see him often on the score sheet, obviously, because he's a different type of player, of course. But even still, took it really well, but on the stretch, just to toe poke it past the goalkeeper. But I suppose that ties quite well in with the fact that we were a little bit wasteful in front of goal yesterday, in particular Kyogo, who obviously has only had a few games for us so far this season, but with the chances and the sort of reputation I suppose he has in front of goal, you would like him to get those goals for us, in particularly the one that he put past the post, honestly, because like from where I'm sat up in block 16, I was looking at it thinking, yeah, he scored, it's at the back of the net, you know, the proper illusion that happened there. And I was looking around and everyone's sort of not celebrating, thinking, oh, he must be offside or must be a foul or something stupid that the officials gave. And then turns to Jack and he goes, he's missed. I went, what? It's not missed. I've seen it at the back of the net. And obviously, I look back on it on my camera as well. I was thinking, that's gone in. Even when I look back for it now, I think it's gone past the keeper and it's into the back of the net and it's rolled in. But I've
Yeah.
looked back on the highlights and it's gone past the post. So yeah, block 16 has a bit of an illusion. I suppose that end of the pitch as well does as well, to be fair. But yeah, proper weird one that was. It did look like it hit the back of the net. But he had another chance not too long after as well. Good cross in from Damari Gray. And I thought at the time, again with this sort of like perspective thing as well, that he was a bit further out from the goal, so he sort of tried to flick it back, but then he sort of just pings off him there. But again, looking back on the highlights, I didn't realise how close to the goal he was actually. And I feel like he should do better there. He's missed a couple of good chances for us now, but I'm sure he'll hit the ground running soon. He has already scored for us. Granted, it was a bit of a tap-in, but still, it's a good striker's poacher's finish. But what do you think? Do you think because he's obviously he's like early 30s, and early 30s for footballers and athletes in general is a bit of a weird time for people.
Yeah. I think Kyogo came to the club with a lot of hype and a lot of expectations surrounding him, and rightly so, given he was wanted by Manchester City and how well he's done at his previous clubs. I felt for him yesterday because he'll be immensely frustrated having been quite wasteful in front of goal with those two chances, especially with how, in particular, the Sheffield United game went and his quite large absence in the Blackburn game too. I think it was frustrating because I was sat in the Jill Merritt yesterday, and that first effort that you thought went in, wasn't even close. Like it's such a perfect opportunity that is a striker's bread and butter, and to hit it that wide is not great. However, having said all that, I don't think I've seen a striker at Blues create so many chances for themselves like Kyogo does. He always seems to be the man in shooting range, in shooting position. There is no doubt that Kyogo Furuhashi is a phenomenal striker, and I'm adamant that he's going to come good and live up to these expectations. He's just had a slightly shaky start. We talked about last week, it's just that confidence with strikers, isn't it? Strikers need goals. And yes, he's had that goal against Sheffield United and he had some good chances. Could almost argue he assisted the goal in the Ipswich game, but he needs goals and he needs a consistent run of goals. His ability to get into the solid positions is, I mean, again, from watching in the Joe Merritt yesterday, that back five, you can constantly see him just waiting in between the two defenders for that through ball. And that's literally what happened for his opportunity that he hit wide. So yes, he's struggling in front of goal at the moment, but you can just see and you can just tell the amount of talent and the quality he has. There's no doubt he's going to be banging in the goals for us this season. He just needs that little run, that little spell where he has 3 or 4 games and he's scored in each one, or he's got 2 in one game. He just needs that confidence. He just needs that break. He should be starting. I thoroughly think he should be starting. Marvin Dutch might come in and do a superb job and might displace him. Who knows? But at this moment in time, I think Kyogo and Stansfield is the absolute two in that striker and just in behind role.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Stansfield yesterday, from every time I saw him on the ball, he was dropping a little bit deeper, wasn't he? You know, he sort of had like some opportunities on the right-hand side, he was picking up chances, who I think sort of capitalised and showed a real good determination yesterday, you know, because he's always had that bit between his teeth and he's always chasing after play and everything. But I saw him a lot with the ball on the right-hand side yesterday, and then a bit more centrally in the second half, which the second half was a bit of a washout maybe or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it didn't quite happen really yesterday, to be honest. But yeah, it's a win, I suppose, isn't it?
And I mean, on that point, I think a few of these players are having to sacrifice where they usually like to play. Stansfield's dropping a little bit deeper. Ethan Laird's playing on the left. We're seeing the likes of Paik play a bit further forward. Tommy Doyle sometimes in behind. You know, we've seen Gray play on the other side, Anderson play on the other side. Some of these players, because we've got so much talent, are having to sacrifice their preferred positions. But you'd think if they've got that much quality and that much potential and ability that they should be able to adapt to these positions. And I guess Ethan Laird proved perfectly yesterday that he can easily play on that left-hand side. Stansfield has, again, proven... I'm never as big a fan of Stansfield on the left, which we haven't really seen post-Rooney, which I'm very glad about.
Yes.
But up front or in behind the striker, he does a superb job. And yes, I would argue he is less effective in behind than he is up front. But as we've said, so much talent in the side. We've got to try fit everyone in. As we said, Marvin Dutch to come in, Lewis Kumas. We said it last week. Where do you fit everyone? How do you get all these players into one team? I think Chris Davis is doing as good a job as he can, working everyone in, and the players who need to be playing, I feel like are playing every single week. But I think some of them just have to sacrifice their preferred positions to get into this Blues team.
I know, exactly. It's such a difficult. It's kind of a welcome difficulty to have for us, isn't it? You know, we've got such a great group of players. You know, at any point, you know, we can change it up and do different things, which kind of brings us nicely onto the Port Vale game. But before that, I do want to just have a bit of a moan about something actually. If you'd have seen my match reaction yesterday with me, my mum, my dad, and Jack in the car, obviously I don't want to drag on for too long, but honestly. You'll see like sort of in the middle bit of the reaction video, but there's this guy in the car who absolutely rockets past us, and like honestly, like he does it twice, so he goes right up the other end. So we park on Garrison Street, so he rockets all the way up there. We can see him come from literally right down there, like going about. Honestly, I kid you not, about 80 miles an hour. He was going like a fucking bat out of hell, honestly. And he shoots past us all the way up, and then obviously spins round and shoots back there. And you'll see it in the video, and I'll put the clip in. Like the whole car just judders past like that, and I'm thinking like, there's people crossing the road, and honestly, if it had hit us, it'd have crushed us like a Coke can. Honestly, even if it had just clipped us like that, it would have been absolutely lethal. So I don't really know what my ending point on that is. Really, but honestly,
Just a rant.
It is honestly like, what the fuck? Like, how is that acceptable? It's ridiculous. And I should say, actually, I've never really spoke about this on the podcast, but I feel like I'm going to have to at some point. The fact that everybody gets their cars nicked around Garrison Street, and honestly, that bit there, it's just fucking not acceptable anymore. Something needs to change about that. But I'll leave it on that, so I don't want to.
Well, it seems all they've done is there's so many signs. Well, there's a few signs saying car thieves operate in this area.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's like still happening, isn't it? It is. Yeah. It's nuts. It's ridiculous.
All I'll say on this, and I hope this does eventually get cracked down. I don't really know who to really request this for, but like some of the authorities really need to get a crackdown on that, because it's just not acceptable. You know, people who park outside the Blues ground and get their front of their cars nicked. I mean, like, I'm not entirely clued up on all of it, but I'm pretty sure that they nicked the LED lights and bits of the engines and stuff like that. But honestly, like, something's got to stop about that, because it's just not acceptable anymore. And, you know, people need to go to a football game and not have to worry about their cars being nicked, because if you don't park round by Garrison Street or somewhere like that, I mean, like, you could be parking miles away from it all. But yeah, that's all I'll say on the matter. But I hope this doesn't become a recurring theme. But if it does, I'm not afraid to talk about it, because it's just fucking not acceptable.
Mental.
Yeah, it really is. This video is proudly supported by RM Risk Management, providing a comprehensive range of services tailored to UK property managers. Visit rmriskmanagement.co.uk to ensure a secure tomorrow. But yeah, that's all I'll say on the matter. It is just, I don't want it to become a running theme on this podcast, because obviously it's a football podcast. I don't want to be talking about theft and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's all I'll say. If there are any people watching this who can pass this sort of stuff on, then please do, because I'm just not having it. The only reason why we don't get our front of our car nicked is because it's so crap, honestly. So we got no one
wants it.
No, exactly. Yeah, so people are looking up and thinking with the big shears and thinking, "Nah, we'll leave it. We'll go on to the next one." But yeah, it is a proper shithole. I don't think anybody's going to dispute me on saying that. But yeah, we'll move on to Port Vale now. In the cup, second round of the Carabao Cup, we won against them in pre-season, but obviously. It's not really much to say about that, you know. It's just sort of feeling out sort of process. But I think it'll be tough. Don't get me wrong. You know, I feel like they're not a bad side. I've seen a few of their games in League One this season. They got a draw with Cardiff as well, who might not be the best team in the world, but you know, even still, it's a good point for them. I don't know exactly where they are in the table, but I do think it'll be a tricky game for us. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, talking on Cardiff are doing very well this season, to be fair. So to get a point at Cardiff is a very good result for them. Yeah, as we said, came up and Darren Moore in charge. I think it'll be, as you say, a tough game. However, I think our second string team is as good as our first team. And even if you're looking to play what is deemed a weaker side, you're still looking at the likes of maybe Tommy Doyle, Mark Leonard, Erin Cashin. You know, it's just a ridiculous side. Whoever you play, being at home as well, I always think is a big help. And I think Chris Davis will want a bit of a cup run. I think, it's it's a competition or cup competitions in recent times. At least we've not gone very far, have we? We do seem to stumble at a few points. So I'm hoping this season we can get a good run in either the Carabao, the FA Cup, either cup. I'm not bothered. I just want us to do well because I think we've got the facilities to do well. I don't think there's excuses this time. As I said, our second team is as good as our first team, so there's no reason why we can't give it a good go. So Port Vale, as you say, won't be easy. They're very much a club on the up at the moment, but as are we. And I think we've got so much talent in that blue side. I think we'll have no problems against Port Vale, hopefully.
Agreed, yeah. So obviously a few players we've already touched on. Lewis Kumas, Marvin Dux and Kanya Fujimoto. Fujimoto and Dux both featured on the bench yesterday, but didn't get to make appearances. So do we expect to see them start or make an appearance?
I think Dutch, I'd be surprised if he started purely because of injury. Again, Fujimoto, I'm not too sure. I imagine these types of players will be implemented into Davis's team quite slowly. I think as I said, I think we'll see the likes of maybe even Kyogo or Stansfield start games. I don't know if they'll get the nod straight away right from the off. If they do, I think that's great because why not give them 90 minutes? It's cup competition as much as we like a run. It is, I guess, a time to experiment a bit more, see how we do. Lewis Kumas, again, obviously just come in from Liverpool, only 19 years old. It'd be good to see a bit more of him. I mean, he started for Liverpool before. He scored for Liverpool before. So, I mean, clearly a talented player on our hands. So it might be the time to give some of these players a go. I'd like to see Leonard get some more game time for sure. Tommy Doyle, as we said, get some more game time. Aaron Cashin as well, big fan of. Like to see it. Even James Beadle, I think the reason we've got Beadle in is because we're potentially looking to buy him at the end of his loan spell. We want a young keeper. We want a keeper who's got that experience, even at his age with Sheffield Wednesday last season. So, we've not just gone out and got a random keeper. There's a reason it's James Beadle, and it's probably because we're looking for that future option. Ryan Allsop's not getting any younger. So I'd like to see him start, which I'm sure he will. But it is a time to experiment. I think everyone's excited by Dutch in particular. I think his pedigree and his stats speak for themselves. So we'll have to see the team that's put out. But I hope, whether they start or not, we certainly get to see some of these players who aren't quite getting the game time.
Another player, I mean, like you mentioned Mark Leonard there, but another player I've completely forgotten about who I really liked last season is Taylor Gardner-Hickman.
Yeah,
I've completely forgotten about it. Like, I'd like to see him start, actually, just to see what type of level he compares to the other players in the team. So whether he starts at right back or in centre midfield, I'm not entirely sure, but I'd like to see him because obviously we bought him during the last season. We obviously was on loan from Bristol City. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, there's players that I just kind of forget about. Like Dykes made an appearance yesterday as well, and I think that was kind of the right choice to make as well because I was expecting Ducks, but then I thought actually no, that makes sense. He scored at the end of last game, and then did pretty well actually when he came on. To be fair to him, So I think I couldn't tell you what the lineup will be actually. I don't know whether he'll go strong like he did against Sheffield United, or whether he'll just try a little bit of experimenting. I think he'll be a little bit more experimenting, but I still expect to see a few first-team players in the lineup, like Kyogo, like Stansfield, Anderson as well, I suppose. But I reckon Kumas will get a start, just because of his sort of because he played for Stoke last season as well and did pretty well there. To be fair, so I can imagine him starting on that right-hand side maybe, and then Anderson on the left. But apart from that, I couldn't tell you what else. I don't know whether I expect to see Cashin or Neumann or Clara. I don't know.
Yeah. Really. And I think you spoke about Taylor Gardner-Hickman. That's until you mentioned that name, I'd almost forgotten about him as well, which is crazy because I thought he was unreal for us last season. I think what's so great about Gardner-Hickman as well is his versatility, and I think that's largely why we brought him in.
Vast versatility.
He can pretty much play anywhere, can't he? We saw him at right mid, right back, probably left back, holding midfield. We've seen him everywhere, which is ridiculous for a footballer because these days they seem to be quite rigid and quite strict in terms of where they play, but he really can play anywhere. I think it's nice for him. I love a footballer who wants game time, and he could have easily sat at Bristol City on that bench collecting his wage, but he wanted to drop a level to come play for us to get those minutes, to get that game time. I've got so much time for a footballer like that as opposed to one who's just going to a club just to sit on the bench. So I hope he gets.
I feel like you're having a real sly dig at someone there.
I've got a few players in mind, but none in particular. But I really appreciate a footballer who actually, wants to put in that time and effort to not only help their side but to help their development, because so many footballers these days are just happy picking up their pay packet, sat on the bench, and it's a shame to see, really. But I've got a lot of time for Garner Hitman. I hope he gets a start, and I hope he gets some minutes this season, because he dropped a level, came to Blues. He wanted that game time, and I think he deserves it.
Because he's not a player that wasn't championship material as well. You know, played for the Baggies, played for Bristol City. So he's not like a League One player. He only did drop down because he knew that it was a good opportunity to come play for the Blues. And, you know, he did, you know, and I feel like there are options for him to come and, you know, get some game time. Obviously, it's very unlikely that he'll be able to compete at the level of Paik Seung-Ho and Iwata in midfield. And obviously with Masai Samuel, he brings something completely different now. But there's still options for him to get off the bench and everything. And, you know, if injuries come about, then I'd like him to be ready. And I feel like he will be as well. You know, he's not one of those players who's going to be sitting about and, like you're saying, collecting his wages pretty much. But yeah, I think obviously we're both very confident about the game on Tuesday night. Are you going by any chance?
Don't know yet. Not too sure. I'm having to think about it. If I can get down, I will do. But yeah, not too sure as of yet. So.
Yeah. I mean, like obviously, that's another thing I want to talk about. Where I'm technically enrolled on this automatic cup scheme, but I was talking to Jamie about this yesterday. Me and him are both on it. And it seems to be like the most complicated thing in the world, because surely when you just enroll on it, you should be able to just buy you, have it bought for you. But I'm enrolled on it, I think. I mean, it says it on my Blues account, but honestly, like every time I go to look, see if I've got it, I haven't got a ticket, so I have to go on and actually buy one.
So what is this cup scheme? Because I saw the thing with the priority for like future rounds and everything, that sort of thing, but I don't think I've seen this ticket cup scheme stuff.
Yeah, I might get this completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's there. So if you enroll on it as a season ticket holder, you get your ticket bought in your seat for every cup game.
Right, okay.
But for some reason, me and Jamie are both season ticket holders. Every time we go to look on it, we've never got it, so we have to go and buy one on the day that it gets released.
Weird.
So I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, it's not going to affect us because, you know, like as long as we remember, which I very nearly did actually on that morning. I work from home. Me and you were talking about this earlier. Like I work from home, so I get up at like 9 o'clock every day now. So just like really just rolling out of bed and I think, oh God, I've got to go and do that really quickly, and jumped on that. But yeah, I don't know whether anybody works at the club who watches these videos might be able to message me privately about it. But I might just have to ring up the club about it. But it's a bit complicated. But yeah, I suppose we're confident about winning. So we'll leave the predictions after we talk about who we'd like to get in the third round, because it's another opportunity for us to really push our brand exposure, I suppose, if we get a good Premier League side. Obviously, we were talking a bit about Man United last podcast, who are playing at the moment, actually. And I believe Bruno Fernandes has missed a penalty against Fulham.
Brilliant. My FPL could not be going worse. Oh my. Is he really missed a penalty?
He's missed a penalty, but Lenny Yoro has literally just scored for United.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Fair enough. Maybe we won't win 6-0. Maybe 8.
Maybe not. We'll go with 8 then. We'll go with 8. That works for me, Tommy.
But yeah, who do we fancy? I mean, like, obviously a Premier League team, but obviously every single team is now in, provided that they win in the cup competition. Obviously, one of the big six I can imagine, but who do we think?
I like it when we have winnable games personally, because I want to see Blues advance into future rounds. And I think once you get to future rounds, you naturally play those big teams. But that's a really boring answer. Anyone in the top 6, I think, would be amazing, particularly for an away day, like someone like yourself, Tommy, who's got the points to go there. It would be unbelievable. Even slightly, I've said in the past, I don't want to play Villa because we'll get battered. But at the moment, they've started the season so poorly. We're big time on the up. In terms of a time I'd like to play Villa, this is the closest it's been in recent history, I think. Let's give it a go then. So someone like an Aston Villa would be so exciting because of the way they've started the season, the trajectory we're on at the moment. We might have a chance. But I would like a winnable game, get through those rounds. But if I had to say a big team, you know, because of last week's pod, I've got to say Man United, Tommy. I've got to say Man United and see if we can do it. And if you prove me wrong, that would be unbelievable. So I'm going with Man United.
He's buying into it. Yeah. I honestly, I think that they're obviously a goal up today at the moment. But even still, I was watching Everton versus Brighton earlier, and that was a terrible game, honestly. The Everton won, but Brighton had like so many chances to win the game. They missed a penalty. Danny Welbeck, who I really like, by the way, as a striker, but honestly had a shocking game, missed the penalty, just literally passes it to Pickford. And I was looking at Everton, and they've got some decent players. They've obviously bought Grealish, who played really well, actually set both goals up. And they've got Njai, who I think is a really good player, actually. But apart from that, like the quality of the game and the misplaced passes, I thought if Stansfield and Kyogo get onto those misplaced passes, like we'll just absolutely rollick those type of teams. So I think I'd prefer a home game just because I think it's really good for the atmosphere and everything. It's again for the brand exposure. You come to St Andrews, you see the spectacle that we put on against Newcastle and the real game that we gave them as well. I feel like a home game would be good, but maybe someone like an Everton, I think that would be good because they've got a decent fan base. They'd bring a lot to the game as well. I think they'd be good competition as well. So I don't think we'd because I think if we did play someone like Man United and won, I think we'd get so carried away with it. It'd kind of be a bit like how like the Peterborough final was a bit of a bring back down to earth. Honestly, in hindsight, I don't know whether I've said this before or not, but that Peterborough final was honestly one of the best things that's ever happened to us because it gave us the grounding experience to be like, okay, right, we need to still work as hard as we possibly can. And Tom Wagner says that afterwards in that game when they're up on the raw box and everything, and they're talking about it and they're saying like, we've got 111 points still to finish on, let's go and get it, and we did. So I feel like if we played someone like an Everton and won compared to like if we played Man United and won, I feel like that would be a bit more of a better result to have. Obviously I'm not saying that if we did play Man United or Everton we would win, but even still, like it's like it's one of those things. I mean, we might not even beat Port Vale, but you know what I mean. It's like it's like a sort of where we're finding ourselves because it'd be great to challenge ourselves against the Everton or a Newcastle again. Because obviously it shows where we are along the progress, really. But also as well, it just depends. But I'd like it to be at home. I would love an away day. But I just think at the moment it'd be good to sort of test us and see where we're going with it all, really. And if we lose and play well against a big team, then I wouldn't be bothered with that at all, really. I agree though with your point as well that if we did get another winnable game, it gets you a little bit excited.
It's nice, isn't it? It's nice
where we're going to finish in that cup competition.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, on your points, if you're speaking a team along the lines of Everton, I think West Ham might be perfect at the moment. They've had a tragic start to the season. Such a poor start. I mean, 5-1 Chelsea is awful. 3-0 Sunderland on opening day. I mean, that is diabolical. Graham Potter, I think, is on very, very thin ice already. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think a home game would be fantastic. And I think some fans maybe, I love to see the confidence. It's so great and it's so nice to see people talking about Blues in this way. We're going to be here, we're going to win the league here, there and everywhere in a few seasons' time. Nothing's guaranteed. I think even things like, top 6, top 8 would, nothing's guaranteed. Things can so easily go wrong. I do think Blues will have a very good season. I think we'll be up there competing. But I totally get your point in that it's not getting too carried away.
Yeah.
Oxford could have so easily nicked a point. In fact, they almost nearly did, to be fair, at the end yesterday with that Mark Harris chance. That wasn't a million miles away. Points are so droppable. It's so easy to drop points. It's so easy to have a bad run. If we come against a few good teams who just turn us over, nothing is guaranteed. So it is about staying grounded, not getting too ahead of ourselves. I think we'll have a very good season, and hopefully that can translate into the cup, and we can beat the likes of Man United. We'll have to see.
Exactly.
We'll have to see.
I will say though, and this isn't really me talking as a Blues fan, I think the Premier League is really poor this season. Like in terms of actual quality from individual players, I just look at them and think, because obviously Tottenham beat City at the weekend as well. I didn't watch the game, but even still, that's a bad result for them. That is.
Very bad.
But you look elsewhere in the league. Obviously, you look at the main teams, and they're obviously got good quality. But you look at the rest of the league and think, I think we'd do well against Fulham. I think we'd do well against Everton. That bottom three. I think we'd beat West Ham at this current stage. Sunderland, I feel like are pretty much already a championship team. I think they'll give it a real go. I think we'd beat Burnley. I think we'd give Leeds a real good go as well. I look at so many teams and think like, I don't see where the real quality is anymore.
I think the top 6 is starting to pull away a little bit more than ever as well. Because you look at some of those signings: Arsenal, Gyökeres, Eze, Madueke. Even though I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of him, but Liverpool, Wirtz, Frimpong, Kirkes, Man United, Cunha and Burma. It's ridiculous. I mean, I feel that it's the most amount of money that's ever been spent in a window. I think this summer. I think those big teams are really starting to like pull away. Even like, Man City, Reinders, like Nori, Cherky, there have been some unreal signings from the big six. And I think they're starting to, maybe if you go back 3, 4, 5 years or so, it felt a little bit more even. But now it does feel like, even like if you look at Brentford, they've been ransacked this season. They've had so many of their big players go. It just feels like that big six, those top six clubs are just pulling away again, and it's money, isn't it? It's money.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I feel so sorry for Newcastle. I've been keeping up with all that Isak drama and everything.
Ridiculous.
I'm just looking at them thinking, God, you've not got a prayer anymore, have you? You know, like you've won the League Cup this season, but like you're never going to break through to that top six ever again, really. And Villa, I think, are the same, actually. I feel like they're going to be harvested for their good players over the next few seasons and everything. And it's kind of the way of the Premier League nowadays with all the PSR rules. But yeah. I just don't see the real quality that outside the top six brings. I mean, like if we were to play a Liverpool or a City, I think we would lose that game, obviously. But I still think we'd give it a real go and really impress ourselves, and just I don't think we'd perform to quite the level we did against Newcastle because they're a little bit lower than the top six as usual. But I think if we did play Liverpool or City at home, I think we'd give it a right go, and I think we'd really, I think we'd show it really. But if we were to play a top six team, I don't think we'd win any of them. But even still, like just to show ourselves in that light would be brilliant. And like I was just saying, the brand exposure and everything. But yeah, it's an interesting time for football, isn't it? I mean, like even before United took over, like you look at Blues now, it's like the transformation's only been a couple of. I'd almost say actually that this era of Blues actually is kind of broken down into 3 different bits. So you had that first season where we went down to the point into the end bit of League One season to the point now, like we're in that next phase now where we're going into trying to aim for the Premier League. I mean, we'll talk about the Leicester game in the next episode, but I think that is a really winnable game if we can get ourselves in the right form for that. But we'll obviously find out in due course. What we're going for prediction wise against Port Vale.
I think it'll be a steady 2-0. I think. I think we're defensively we're proving very solid, and the goals we have conceded so far this season, I think, particularly against Ipswich and Sheffield United, have largely been fairly unfortunate. And even like Cantwell's goal was superb. So you've got to account for those things. But I think against Port Vale, we'll be able to limit them a bit like we did against Oxford yesterday. I think we'll have a couple of goals in us as well, even from our potential second string team. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Blues.
Interesting, yeah. I have a sneaking feeling that it's going to be a pretty much carbon copy of the Sheffield United game in a weird way. I think we'll take the lead and I think we'll dominate the first half. And then I don't know, I think the second half, they will give it a real go. And I can imagine, obviously, I'm not entirely sure because they haven't had, I mean, like at the moment, they're in the bottom 3. They haven't won yet, but they've drawn 2 and lost their other 3. So I think, in a weird way, I could see them getting a goal. I don't know why, but I could see them on the break or something like that. And I think at the moment, with the way we are, there will be a game this season where we start to really show our finishing prowess in that way. It was a fancy word for me to use, that was. But yeah, I think at the moment, we're still working that out. I don't think we've kind of got our feet on the ground and really getting like the goals in, really. Because we did do that last season as well. We never had like a proper run of games where we're just thrashing teams. We did bits and bobs here, and we never lost our consistency in winning. And I don't think we're going to lose that game against Port Vale either. But I do think it will be tougher than expected as well because Port Vale will give it a real go. So I can see a 2-1, a bit of a carbon copy of the Sheffield United game, actually. And I think Stansfield will get another goal, actually. I don't know who can get the other goal for us. I think it might be a bit of a wild card. It'd be interesting to see if one of the defenders score, because I think that would be showing like how they can sort of like attack games and everything. Because obviously, in previous seasons, when we're a little bit poorer, we had Michael Morrison who was like scoring 7 goals a season, and Austin Trusty chipping in with goals as well. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they are those type of attacking sort of defenders from corners and set pieces. It'd be interesting to see what they have in the air, because at the moment, like their defensive abilities has been absolutely perfect. But it'd be interesting to see how they are going forward. I mean, early on in the game yesterday, actually, Neumann took a bit of a whack to his head when he was going up for the header. Shook it off as he would. Nothing affects that man, honestly. Oh yeah, that was one thing I was going to talk about. Did you see that Stansfield got hit at the end of the Blackburn game?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
No.
the
What,
guy,
after full time?
yeah, a guy threw something and it hit him in the
Oh,
back
you're
of the head.
joking. Yeah, I
Yeah,
missed it. Completely missed
yeah.
it.
I will say one thing about Stansfield. I'm sure it hurts because obviously, and it probably did the right thing in going down and making sure that he was okay and everything. But even still, I'd have just turned around and just gone like that to them, and just like, fuck off,
Do
mate.
you know what it was? Do you know what was thrown in? Was it like a bottle or something? Or
It looks like a bottle. I can't be
right,
too sure
okay.
about it. Yeah,
Okay.
it was weird. Obviously, I'd be such a terrible footballer. But honestly, I'd just be winding people up all the time. If they'd have done that to me, I'd have just turned around and just gone, "Oh, that hurts a bit, didn't it? Oh, that hurts." But yeah, I thought I'd just bring that up a little bit. But yeah, Zach, it's been a good time talking to you this evening. Thank you as usual. We'll be back on Wednesday night, hopefully with Jamie. It's been a while since we've had him on the podcast. We are getting Jamie's own podcast very soon. We ran the pilot episode of it last season with Lawler's Law. But yeah, it'll be a very unfiltered, prepare yourself, very unfiltered podcast that will be. But yeah, we're hopefully going to get that up sometime soon. We have also got some very interesting news coming in terms of the podcast as well, so be sure to keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, Zach, it's been a pleasure as usual. I hope to see you down at the Blues on Tuesday night. If not, then
Sure,
we'll
mate.
be back on the podcast later on. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to tune into the vlog on Tuesday night and also the Leicester game, which we will talk about in the next episode. Let us know what you think to what we've been talking about tonight, and be sure to put your predictions in for the Tuesday night game as well. Thank you for watching, and keep right on.
Keep right on.